Hello, today we're going to talk about crazy MAGA conspiracy theories. Every day brings something new with these nutty people. The conspiracy theories, the lack of science, the everything about Christianity. It just makes these people say the dumbest things. Anyway, welcome to Marxisms. If you've never been here before, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. Please like and subscribe, and do not hit the notification button because notifications are annoying. So, anyway, today we're going to talk about some of the nutty MAGA members like Marjorie Trailerpark Greene, who just introduced legislation to Congress to stop chemtrails and chemical seeding and weather manipulation and weather control, which, by the way, is not happening. And so we're going to get into that. And then also a MAGA candidate, um, Candace Taylor, who believes that the storms that happened in Texas were murder because of climate manipulation. The only problem with that is this area gets historic flooding going back to as long as we've recorded history and been there. Cloud seeding is not something that took place or was even thought of in the 1800s. We didn't even have planes yet. Not that all cloud seeding techniques are done by airplanes. Some of them are actually ground based, and they these things do exist. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit too. So anyway, let's get into this. Let's start with this nonsense. Here's Candace. Let me reduce this. I got my own screen in the way here for me, not for you, but for me. Okay, so Hurricane Helene left me powerless for 16 days and caused $57,000 in damage. I'm assuming that's to her house because I'm sure it costs a lot more than that overall. So she's thinking of herself here, I guess. This isn't just climate change. Yeah, it's climate change, and part of it's actually kind of normal weather stuff. It's cloud seeding, geoengineering, and manipulation. If fake weather causes real tragedies, that's murder. Okay, so fake weather, real damage. Don't accept the narrative. Question the cause. Yeah, please do question the cause, and then go do some research on the subject and get some goddamn facts. Okay, so somebody put a citation here um, to show her that no, this is not real, and of course people are upset about it. And this woman here says that well, the weather was used to flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail in Vietnam, and it's like, well, yeah, they did try to do that. They did cloud seed and um, like General Westmoreland said, he goes, it just really wasn't effective. It didn't really do anything. What they tried to do is they seed the clouds, which can actually create a little more precipitation. It doesn't, it's not a widespread thing. It's not like you can create hurricanes and stuff like that, like these people think. It's not reliable. It's not a reliable weapon. It's not a reliable way to increase weather change. Um, I know some places do try it quite often. They do in like Dubai to try to get weather. They seed clouds because they get in the afternoon. They get some clouds, I guess, and so they go up and they seed them to try to get a little more rain out of them. And there's been a lot of studies done, and there's some mixed reviews on it. But even the ones that are positive in favor of it working um, are pretty minimal. It's a pretty minimal effect if and when it does work, and the times it does work is when conditions are just perfect, and then you get like 5% more precipitation, maybe at the most, 5 to 15, I guess. So anyway, so it's not super effective, and it's not really. See, there's people that think that. Let's go to the next section here that chemtrails are kind of a big thing. You see a pattern like this in the sky. and people go see how it spreads out in spots like in the middle there, and people believe that they're just crisscrossing the sky with these and dropping chemicals. But I live in flyover country, and there's times when you see this kind of pattern. I walked outside today. There's always uh, you could always at least see 6, sometimes 12 airplanes in the sky. Today it's really hot. It's like going to be 103 degrees. There's zero precipitation. Easy for me to say. Zero precipitation where I live, and I say zero. That's an exaggeration because let's see. Let's check it out here. I got my little weather app right here. Let's see what the precipitation is on today here in this particular region. Humidity. Actually, we're at 31% today, which is kind of surprising because it seems really dry out, and that's pretty high for here. But that's still lower than most of the country. We're around 7 or 8, but it does feel a little humid because we've been getting some rain, so there's going to be a little bit more humidity at ground level. But see what this is when you get planes flying over and the air is colder usually up in the upper atmosphere, and there's a lot more humidity. And so what happens is when the hot air from the jets going by um, spewing their exhaust, they create water vapor. It creates water vapor when it's really humid, and then when there's a lot of humidity, especially in places like East Texas, where it gets pretty humid. I'm sorry, yeah, East Texas, where it gets pretty humid, and you have the hill country there. We'll get into that a little later. But what happens is a lot of times this will just kind of hang out and then just spread, and people say, "See, condensation doesn't do that." Well, yeah, it actually does, and it's been proven. And in fact, I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area as a kid, and we lived and when I was a kid, I was born in 1964, and we moved away from Pacifica when I was 7 years old. So this is that would have been 1970, and we regularly had planes fly overhead. We were right in the flight path of SFO, San Francisco Airport, which is a little bit south of San Francisco. It's in basically it's part of San Francisco, but it's in South San Francisco, which is a different city, San Bruno, area. So but I used to see this as a kid all the time, and even all growing up living in the North Bay, where you still had a lot of planes coming in and out because it was a pretty heavy trafficked area when it came to air traffic, and this has been going on forever. These are and then you can and now I live in a place in flyover country where it is very dry. I live in the Pacific in the Southwest, and it's very dry here, and up in the upper atmosphere they get a lot of humidity anyway, but there's times when I can see crisscross patterns like this, um and you look up. I mean, have a nice set of binoculars, and I look up at these planes, and I've done this because of the chemtrail people. And these are commercial airliners. These are not military planes. These are commercial airliners just flying from there's a lot of the airports. We have one here close by. We have actually a couple of them. I'm really close to the border, so we have an airport in Mexico just south of us, and I'm giving it away, aren't I? And then one on the other side of the border, our side, and then of course all the ones coming from Dallas and Houston, and coming from L.A. and Phoenix and Tucson and everywhere else. And we get this crisscross pattern a lot. It doesn't usually spread out really wide like that. In the wintertime, it will. And I'll look out sometimes, and there'll be like 12 planes in the sky. I mean, I count them like that. I can see 12 planes. I walk out today. It's not very humid. Probably not very humid in the upper atmosphere, and you can't see a single thing like this at all. Now, if they were wanting to cloud seed, we're in the middle of our monsoon season here, and we just did get a bunch of type of weather where it should have rained a lot and we got a little bit of rain, but we didn't get anywhere near what we normally get. And that's because of climate change, not because of cloud seeding. Obviously, we would have got more rain, but it's not going on. And if they were going to cloud seed anywhere, it would be here because, man, kind of an important area actually, and we're not getting the precipitation that we used to get. I mean, the first year I was here, we did get, I think that was the last monsoon we got, and I mean, it was some pretty good downpours, and it was awesome. But anyway, so this is not these are not chemtrails. These are contrails. These are condensation in the upper atmosphere. Anybody that thinks that these are somehow uh, chemicals, it's a myth. There is cloud seeding that does happen in certain circumstances. Sometimes farmers will use it to try to get a little more out of their crops and stuff like that. And there's a couple of ground-based things that they're just not successful. They're not successful in any great way. You know, they might produce a little bit here and there, but this idea of government planes flying over and spraying chemicals everywhere it's just not true. It is conspiracy theory. This woman, the hell's her name? Candace Taylor is a nut. She's a MAGA nut, and typical MAGA nuts. Here, I commented on her ridiculousness. So did about a bunch of other smart people. Um, yeah, yeah. There's some pretty good ones here, actually. How many times did you repeat fifth grade? Right? Nice, nice. Anyway, I'm gonna like those. So anyway, yeah, she's a nut, and she's appealing to the lowest common denominator, the uneducated MAGA types who will believe anything that their constituents or their leaders will say. And the funny thing is I have a really good friend. I'm not going to mention his name, who's a devout Christian, and I had sent him an article on a Russian um, a nuclear submarine that had almost started World War III, and basically one, I think it was the executive officer, declined to use his key because he had one of the keys to launch nuclear weapons. It was his declining of that basically prevented the world from ending. And my friend got so mad at me. No Christian would believe that. That's not true. Everybody knows that that only God's going to end the world. Well, that's a really ignorant argument. And the problem with that is, and the problem with Christianity is that's what they believe. They believe that humans cannot affect the earth in any way. That only God can do it, and so therefore they can pollute all they want. That's why Donald Trump is allowed to pass this bill that he passed the other day that just strips away all the environmental protections that we've come up with over the years, which are based on science, not religion. See, these people base everything on religion. It's like, but Jesus says that, and God says that only He will destroy the earth. So we can't do it. So we could just do whatever we want. So it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. And so they basically, it's Jesus take the wheel. Well, that stupid song, I always hated that song. It's just so dumb. It's like the woman's about to be in a car accident. Instead of doing anything, she just takes her hands off the wheel and says, "Oh, Jesus, take the wheel." And it's like somehow that's going to work. No, that's just absurd. Um, I mean, there might be a God. I don't know. I'm in kind of agnostic in that respect, but if there is, I'm more of a deist because clearly God is not intervening. If He was intervening, you wouldn't have the shit that happened in Texas. And so all those people were their time. It was their time. It's like, well, then why does Marjorie Trailerpark Greene always say that's whenever an earthquake happens in California that it's God punishing those liberals? Well, maybe this is God punishing conservatives for their shitty actions. Yeah, it's just stupid, but just throw that same thing back at them. So anyway, contrails are bullshit. Um, chemtrails are bullshit. Contrails are what's going on there. Yeah, here we got a PhD talking about it here. Biomedical science and physical and mathematical science and at Hastings. Well, okay, so I'm gonna kind of go with this person rather than Marjorie Trailerpark Greene, who is even a shitty Christian because she Look at her, running around publicly cheating on her husband with every tantric guru, sex guru, and other people. She's a piece of shit. She's a hypocrite. She's not a real Christian. Anyway, in the can there. Okay, so here is some a little bit of history on. Let's go to this first. So contrails are created when hot water vapor emitted by a jet engine after combustion cools and condenses in Earth's atmosphere, according to Environmental Protection Agency. Oh, the EPA. Oh my God, yeah, a bunch of liberals, deep state, whatever. Shut fuck off. That's stupid. The atmosphere's temperature and humidity must, if we hadn't gotten rid of some of the funding for some of these things, we would have known. See, that's the thing. We would have known that these storms were coming to Texas, but since we've canned everybody at all these agencies like the Weather Bureau and stuff, there's no way to alert people. There's no money, there's no people to do it. And that's why so many people died. If there was some alerts, people would have been ready for it. People were not alerted, and people are pissed off because this administration failed again. They failed. They're spending $170 billion on police forces, on the Mexican boogeyman who's raping and murdering everybody, which isn't true. And yes, let's go after the MS-13 members and the gang members that are doing those things. But the majority of Mexicans and Venezuelans and Cubans and Central Americans are not here to do those things. They're here to fucking work and have a better life. It's just that simple. And most of them are good family men. I mean, most of them are Catholics, um, and they're good family people. I know lots of people that are from Mexico. I have all my life growing up in California and living here in the Southwest, and they are fine people that will give you their shirt off their backs if you're in need. The people who run the local charities and stuff around here, most of them are Mexicans. They're just good people. Yes, there's some bad people involved in that, bad people that we created because we're the recipients. We're the ones who want all the drugs. We're the ones that are consuming the drugs. We're the ones that are wanting the cheap labor. We're the ones that are wanting the sex slaves. They're all coming to the United States, and they're coming for because Americans want that stuff. That's why. So don't stop blaming them. You need to look in your own backyard first. We're the problem because we create the demand for this stuff. If the demand wasn't here, you would not have cartels in Mexico. Sorry. It just wouldn't happen. It's America's fault. Okay, so anyway, chemtrails are created, or chemtrails, getting confused now. Contrails are created when hot water vapor emitted by jets after combustion cools and condenses in the Earth's atmosphere. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, the atmosphere's temperature and humidity must be in just the right place for condensation to occur. That's which is why it's not occurring today. I could walk outside. In fact, I took a picture and it's just all blue. There is not a single contrail out there. So you tell me there's no airplanes in the sky, but there are. There's airplanes flying over all the time here. This is flyover country, and it's just there's no condensation in the air, and it's hot out. So it's not. They're not happening right now because there's no these conditions aren't correct for it to happen. And then when you have a lot of that, like I said, they'll stay there, they'll spread out, and then that's when you get the conspiracy nitwits who oh look, chemtrails, oh they're poisoning us. They're poisoning us with our food. They're not poisoning. I mean, they're poisoning us in our air too. Let's get that straight. But with all the environmental shit that just Trump and the Republicans just stripped out of the way with that bill, that's big, beautiful bill that they passed, that's going to be the real problem. Those are the real chemicals and stuff going into our air and water. So they're just fooling you. They're more blowing more sunshine up your ass. Okay, the atmosphere's temperature must be humid in just the right conditions. The air must be cold with some humidity. Contrails, most commonly from an airplane cruising altitude between about 32,000 and 42,000 feet in the upper troposphere. Uh, per the Rocky Mountain Institute. I'm sure they're part of the deep state too, right? I don't even know what those are, what it is, because that's where those conditions are found, which is why you see that all the time. Because the atmosphere is ever changing, conditions might not be right for contrails formulation at this altitude, like today here in the Southwest, because it's really hot and really dry. Which is why not all airplanes create contrails during every flight. Okay, so now, since we have that idiot, and the other idiot, and then the rest of the idiots believing that this is somehow murder, let's go check some other stuff out. I already said, okay, the Texas Hill Country where this happened. You got the Guadalupe River. This place floods all the time. Texas Hill Country is no stranger to extreme flooding. In the rugged, rolling terrain it's known for, heavy rains collect quickly in its shallow streams and rivers that can burst into torrents like the deadly flood waves that swept along the Guadalupe River on July 4th. Yeah, that's the thing that just happened. That's what they're talking about here. This happens all the time. The Guadalupe has flooded more than a dozen times since 1978, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, but the Independence Day flood is among the worst in history. That's because of climate change, not because of chemtrails. Sorry. Chemtrails are not real. Um, some seeding of clouds does happen. It doesn't happen in any large scale in this country, and it's usually by a local farmer trying to get a little bit of more rain out of clouds in his particular. It's probably not a small farm. It's probably big truck commercial farms. Republicans. Um, the guy's poisoning our food. The guy's using Monsanto's pro- products that are poisoning us, and using their killer seeds that are basically changing our entire environment and ruining our food. Which is why we have gluten issues in this country, where people that can't eat bread here in the United States, they can actually go to Europe and eat the bread, because the bread is real, and they have lower cases of autism. Everybody wants to say vaccines. It's vaccines. Oh, it's the vaccines. It's Fauci. It's Bill Gates. No, it's not. It's probably gluten. Most autistic people have a gluten intolerance of some sort, either allergic to gluten, or happen to know some of them personally, by the way, or they are celiacs, or they just have no don't have a good tolerance towards to it. There's the link you're looking for right there. The crap that we put in our food. Just reading a an article the other day. It's something I already knew was true. See, I eat whole foods. I eat. We cook our dinners. I cook my dinners. I make my own salsa. I make my own um vinegars. Rice vinegar is awesome, by the way. I highly recommend. It's very easy to do. Brew my own kombucha, and I drink this stuff too. But in fact, let me take a swig of this, because I'm getting a little hoarse. But anyway, so I eat good whole foods, which is why I'm 61 years old and I have low blood pressure, and I'm not fat. I have a little bit of belly fat right now, just because I just went on a month-long road trip, eating out a lot. Um, and so I gained a little bit of weight, but still, it's not bad. I'm working on that right now. I've already lost a little bit, lost about 5 pounds. But yeah, that's from eating the crap out on the road. And even then, when I go to a restaurant, I try to, be careful about what I eat. But bread here is terrible, which is why I eat like whole grain breads and stuff like that. I'll tell you a little funny story, a little side note while we're talking about this. I had moved to Idaho. Um, oh God, probably 30 years ago now. Yeah, over 30 years ago. And I was doing sheet metal, because that's what I was, a sheet metal worker, a union sheet metal worker. So I'm working on this new crew, and I just start that day, and one of these guys was a Texan. And when I pulled in, I saw the "Don't Californicate Idaho" sticker on a truck with a Texas license plate. And so we get in there, and at break, or at lunch, and we start talking. Actually, at break, and we start talking, and this everybody's, well, where are you from? Like, and I wasn't one of these people. Everybody said, don't say you're from California. I'm one of these people that said, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm from California, and this Texan just starts laying into me, pissed off. Oh, you Republican or you Republicans, you Californians are coming here, you're ruining everything, this and that. And I'm just like, dude, I go, I go, I could tell by your Texas drawl that you're the guy that owns that truck out there. Oh yeah, it's my truck. And I go, what the fuck are you doing here? You know how many Texans are here in Idaho? You're doing the same thing I'm doing. You're moving away from the big city. You're moving away because Dallas is getting and Houston are getting huge. More and more people moving in there. And I was a Republican at the time. And it's like, I'm not coming here to change your politics. I'm coming here because I agree with them, you know? And it was funny. He just was, and this happened time and time again. People are just hating on me because I was from California. Next thing you know, they're buying me drinks after talking to him. And well, okay, you're actually pretty sensible. But anyway, so I ended up, he and I ended up becoming pretty good friends, honestly. So anyway, back to the bread thing. So lunchtime comes around, and I pull my sandwich out. I got me a tuna sandwich, and I start eating it, and it's on like whole grain bread, and they're all looking at me like, "Oh, look at this Californian. He's, with his granola and eating wheat bread." And I'm like, "Seriously?" And then these guys pull out their sandwiches on Wonder Bread. Guess who had the last laugh on this one? I'm just like, "Seriously, Wonder Bread?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you got peanut butter and jam there? Did your mommy make your lunch? I mean, what are you, 6? I mean, fuck's sakes, dude. I mean, you're making fun of me for having whole grain bread, and somehow that makes me some liberal from California because I want to eat right, and you're eating that garbage that's suitable for it's not suitable for a 6-year-old. Honestly, I never fed my kids that crap. It's just unbelievable, and they were pretty embarrassed after that. And it's like, damn, it's like your mommy made your sandwich for you. It's hilarious. But anyway, I digress again. But I had to tell that story. It's just funny. But there it is. Our food sucks. I mean, people that are gluten free, they go to Europe and they can eat bread, no problem, because it's not poisonous gluten like the crappy huge truck farms that we have here in this country. They're destroying our food. But this thing I read about processed foods is they were saying that, and I believe this to be true, that no amount of processed food is good for you. No amount, zero. It's not good for you. And they particularly keyed on sodas like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Now I'm going to get sued by Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Well, I don't know. Prove to me that your stuff is healthy. There's no nutritional value in that crap. It's disgusting. I used to live with somebody who drank Pepsi in the morning, and turned her nose up to coffee, which actually has antioxidants, has actually got some benefits for you. And she drinks Pepsi. I mean, her belly, she had like a beer belly, like some southern hillbilly with not necessarily southern. I mean, just any rural kind of place where they just eat a lot of fast food and stuff like that. That's what she looked like. I don't know how I ever fell in love with her, but anyway, I did somehow. Anyway, yeah. So this is a historic, an area that historically floods. It's nothing new. This is the biggest one they've recorded because of climate change. I mean, that's why we don't get where I live. We don't get monsoons anymore. They were predicting monsoons a couple of weeks ago, and saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to get some monsoon type weather." Well, it all petered out because it's just too hot. Um, and plus, the Weather Service probably, has a bunch of DUI hires now instead of the scientists that they all fired. But what causes Texas flooding? Uh, Terrain, a lot of it. Terrain and timing were the biggest factors in the storm. A recently retired National Weather Service meteorologist in Texas, this guy, Gerard and Victor Murphy. Okay. Oh, Gerard, I don't know. Gerard must have been measured or mentioned up here. But anyway, thunderstorms, which began on July 3rd and continued through the morning of July 4th, dropped as much as 10.33 inches of rain near Ingram, Texas, and widespread amounts between 3 to 7 in more than half a dozen other counties across the south central part of Texas. Because of the region's proximity to the Gulf, it gets very high rainfall rates. We get hurricanes there. That's, tropical weather comes up, and then it goes in there and hits that hill country, which is a little more mountainous hill ish, and that backs the storms up. I mean, I know that from living in California because that's what happens there. It backs up, and certain places will get like Marin County in Fairfax. They'll get like 14 inches of rain, and then in Petaluma, you get like maybe three in a big storm like that, or two even. It's just that big a difference because of the where the Mount Tam and the hills are. It backs up and then makes that water drop. I don't know all the science behind it, but um, and on July 4th, it was a case of everything focusing on exactly the wrong place. An upper level disturbance in the atmosphere tapped into a deep plume of tropical moisture left over from Tropical Storm Barry, which made landfall in Mexico on June 29th, Gerard said. And it didn't help that the storm that formed on Independence Day moved in from the same direction as the Guadalupe River, which only adds to the rain flowing off the terrain. Yeah, see, that's the thing. They have all these, they don't, they have all these shallow rivers. They're not like the rivers it's not like the Mississippi, which is a little deeper, and some of these other rivers around here, they're very shallow, and so when it does rain, the runoff is just tremendous. It's the same thing around here. When there's a monsoon, the runoff is incredible. The rivers and the arroyos do not hold the water. That's why if you walk around the corner from any neighborhood around here, you'll find a big hole in the ground, that's 100 yards across, 100 yards, 100 by 100, and it's just a deep hole that they dig to hold the water, and that's where everything flows to, because the water doesn't soak in; it just runs off. The escarpment is a line of cliffs and steep hills created by a geological fault. Let's see, I missed a part here. Hill country is a semi-arid area where the soil that don't soak up that much water. That's what I just said. That's same here. So the water sheets off quickly, and the shallow creeks can rise fast. Hatim Sharif, hydrologist and civil engineer at the University of Texas in San Antonio, wrote in a July 5th post on the conversation. The escarpment is, what do we got here? The escarpment is a line of cliffs and steep hills created by a geological fault, Sharif said. Then warm air from the Gulf rushes up the escarpment. It condenses and can dump a lot of moisture. See, that's kind of what I was saying. Like gets backed up. The water flows down the hill quickly from many different directions, filling streams and rivers, and it's all the same. The water just runs off. So anyway, this is a historical thing. This is not murder. It's not the liberals targeting Texas. This is something that happens there all the time. If you live in this area, you know that this happens a lot. And you also know that the storms are getting worse. I don't know if this is a heavy red area. I know some parts of Texas are more liberal than others. And maybe they're just educated and they just think that, these things are getting worse because, I don't know, the sun or something. Well, right now we do happen to have. Let's go into that a little bit. We do happen to have a situation where the the sun is at a maximum, and so you get all these solar flares. So it's going to get hotter. I used to be kind of a skeptic when it came to global warming, and the thing that changed my mind, and I always said this because I followed the science pretty closely, and I said, well, when we go in and out of these cycles, it gets colder and hotter. I remember years when it snowed in the Bay Area, and then you get 11 years where it doesn't snow, and then you get hotter weather, and then you have large periods of drought, and then all of a sudden you have these huge storms that come in from the Pacific that just get you out of the drought like that. We had one of those recently, they did in California. Um, and basically took them pretty much out of the drought. The only problem is things are getting drier and drier from climate change. So my thing was, it's like when we went into a solar minimum, which we did. We had 11 years ago. We had a solar minimum, and because every 11 years it's the sun cycle, you have a maximum and a minimum. We had a minimum, and the we were still getting record temperatures. So that was when it told me that okay, it is not just the sun; it is climate change. But see, most people have like 70s and 80s technology where they're talking about these things, and they're talking about it from a perspective of not really following the weather like I have and like scientists do. But we should have gotten cooler during that minimum, and we didn't. And that's what really told me that, okay, yeah, climate change is definitely real, and we are definitely causing it. It's not the sun. It's These things can and are measured by scientists, and we're making it worse. So the hotter it gets, when we have these solar maximums like we do now, that's why we're getting tremendously hot weather here. But it doesn't just create, everybody says, but sometimes we get colder weather. Yeah, because what it does is it disrupts the jet stream, and so the jet stream goes like, let me get on this side. The jet stream goes like this. It does that somewhat anyway, but now it's a lot more drastic. It's going like that. And you can watch, you could go back and look at weather maps. At least you used to be able to. The internet sucks today, but it used to be better. You used to be able to go back and look, and I used to do that and look at the ice sheets, and where they were at different times of the year. You probably still can. NASA has that stuff, unless Trump's gotten rid of it all. And then you could also look at how the jet stream moved, and you'll notice, if you're able to find that stuff, you'll notice that the jet stream now goes like this a lot more. It goes up and down in a serpentine type of motion. Oh God, I'm telling everything's backwards here. But anyway, it goes like a snake, but just bigger now. It goes way up and then it comes way down. I didn't used to do that. I used to just, go up a little bit and then come down. But now it's a lot more drastic, and that's why you have increment weather. That's why you have greater snowfalls sometimes in certain times of the year in certain parts of the country. And then people go, "Oh, where's this global warming?" No, it's not global warming. It's climate change. It's disrupting the normal patterns of Earth and our climate and our atmosphere. So you have to look a little deeper. You just can't be a surface thinker. So that's the problem, is most people are surface thinkers. Robert Ludlum used to call it, in his books. I used to read them as a kid. People that don't think geometrically. People who can think multifaceted, and I call the people that can't think that way surface thinkers, and then the other people are deep thinkers. They can think below the surface, below the what seems to be obvious. There's always more to it than just, yeah. Sometimes it's better when things are simpler, but it's not always the case, especially when it comes to weather. There's nothing simple about it. But anyway, so Marjorie Trailerpark Greene and this what the hell's her name? Mm, Here she is, Candace. That's right. I should have remembered. Candace Taylor. These people are nuts. These people are ignorant. They're uneducated. They have no concept of science. I'd love to see a little more about her, actually. Okay, Christian, Georgian, Maga, Jesus, Guns, and Babies, candidate for Congress 2006. Okay, she's a nut job. Jesus, Guns, and Babies. I wonder what Jesus thinks about that. I'm subscribed. I'm gonna troll the shit out of this moron. Anyway, yeah, it's scary what we have out there in charge. Uh, what's his name? I forget his name. Who called them DUI hires? That's perfect. I use that now because that's what they are. They're just a bunch of drunks, misfits, rapists, conspiracy theorists. It's like the Nazis who ran Germany when the Nazis and Hitler took over. They were just a bunch of misfits, a bunch of drunks, drug addicts, etc., sexual deviants, all kinds of weird stuff. But with their and racist, of course, they were all racist. So that's what's running our country today is a bunch of Nazi Germany like DUI hires. Anyway, peace.